Hey, how's it going? And today we're just going to be exploring gradients a little bit and how to create a worn paint or chipped paint look on an object. So right now I've got my object loaded in and it's the standard material and it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look as good as it could. So we want to switch to Principle B SDF, and when we do, we notice we lose our texture channel. What we have to do to get that back is go into the edit node, click on the color layer, and click this. Then we double click this and we'll go ahead and put a gradient in there. You notice it says texture editor there, right? So there it is, but it's in the node editor now. So I want to just explain a couple things real quick about the gradient. Quite honestly, I've struggled to understand the gradient myself. I don't know why. I know exactly why. I'm going to show you why. Let me just show you something here real fast. If we look at this, this is fed by an input parameter, right? Which the input parameter is the previous layer, right? So it's something changing in response to something else, and then it goes along this gradient, right? Based on what this is. There's no previous layer, so if I drag this key and change the gradient, nothing changes here because really there's no input into this. It's just going to stay this color. It doesn't matter really what I do. But if you come here to the trusty LightWave manual and it says driving the gradient, it explains with nothing connected to external input, the gradient type may be selected using the input drop down list. The choices are, and this is why I struggle. I mean, listen to this. Where the output is interpolated based on the gradient using the angle between the current hit point and the camera's up direction as the input. Well, there you go. It's right there. Okay, incidence where the output is interpolated based on the gradient using the angle between the current hit point and the camera's viewing direction as the input. Okay, fair enough. But what does that mean in English? Was that English? That was English, right? This is how I interpret that. Okay, so slope, what that means is basically from the front to the back. So if we look at this from the side and I just drag this key, you see it's getting redder and redder and redder. So it's basically changing from the front to the back, from where the camera is, I guess, to the front of the object here. So that's that. If I put the input parameter as the incident angle, it looks pretty much the same all the way around. And so I take this basically as from the inside out. So this kind of gives your color a nice kind of combined combination color kind of between the red and the white from the inside out. So it gives it kind of a faded look. If I want to make this look completely red, I just have to drag this all the way up and it's completely red as far as I can tell. If I drag this down, then the white is kind of bleeding through from the inside out and kind of fading it. That's how I interpret it. That's one reason I struggle is just got to get in here and play around with things. So anyway, this color here, this layer here is going to end up being our background color, or yeah, our background color. And then if we go here and add layer, we're going to add a procedural on the top of this. So I'm saying this is the background and this is the foreground color. This layer now is kind of blending in. This layer is blending in with this layer, kind of 50-50 under the normal blending mode. And if we didn't want this top layer to even be showing, we just drop the opacity all the way down, and then you can see the background layer there. Okay, so I click on this and I'll put this back to 100. This is a good experiment to get familiar with what these things do. So this is confusing. I call this the background color. It's the background layer and this is the foreground layer, but honestly this is going to appear to be the outer color and this is going to be the underneath color, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Bump up the contrast on here right away, you'll see what I mean. And this is a good way to get familiar with what these do. Frequencies, contrast, and small power. So now that I bumped up the contrast, you can see if I come here to the background layer and let's say I make this all red and drag it up, even though this is the background layer on the object, it looks like it's the outer layer. So it's a little confusing, the terminology, but basically this is controlling the top color and this is controlling the underneath color. But for here on the editor, this is actually kind of, I take it as the lower layer and the top layer, so they're kind of reversed. That's a little confusing. But let's go back in here, and this is, we're basically done. I'm just showing you these controls here. That's great. We kind of see some things here. So this looks like it does sort of look evenly combined right now, but it does look like the red color is kind of on top of this color, right? One thing we can do, but the problem is this looks too smooth. That's too smooth. Nothing's like that. So all we have to do is, you'll see what the frequencies do is create a jaggedness. See that jaggedness? There, now it looks like worn paint, right? And then if we increase the small power, that even adds more variability and breaks it up even more. It's like jagged edge plus in a way. But that really looks like chip paint now. So the only problem is maybe we don't want this as our underneath color. We just come here and just pick any other color that you think would be underneath that color. That kind of matches it. So maybe another color that's a little bit lighter than that. And then you can see. And then you can just pick any other color that you think would be underneath. And that's it. The other thing is that we can even bump up the small power a little bit. By scaling this, you can also adjust how this is showing as worn. The other thing you might do is bring down the specularity to add into that sense of wornness. It's just up to you what you want to do. And that's basically how you would get a chipped, worn paint look on an object in LightWave. So take care. Have a great day. I hope you found this helpful.